The raise showed up on a Friday. Sleep Easy opened his banking app and saw an extra $168 in his monthly take-home pay. It was not life-changing, but it was enough to imagine a little room returning. A dinner without checking the account first. A faster transfer to savings. Maybe 1 month when the balance did not feel spoken for. By Monday, the feeling was gone. He had not bought anything reckless. There was no new phone, no weekend trip, no mysterious shopping bag. The money had simply moved through the automatic system already attached to his account. Rent, insurance, internet, phone service, streaming, cloud storage, a gym membership, utilities. One by one, each payment arrived quietly and left without a decision. His paycheck had grown. His breathing room had shrunk. That sounds impossible until you stop looking at the size of the paycheck and start looking at the speed of the commitments underneath it. A year earlier, Sleep Easy brought home $4,200 a month. His automatic bills totaled $2,540. After his raise, take-home pay reached $4,368, exactly 4% more. But his automatic bills had changed too. Rent was $80 higher. Car insurance added $34. Internet added $15. The phone plan added $10. Streaming and software added $21. Storage and the gym added $20. The average utility withdrawal added another $40. None of those changes looked dramatic alone. Together, they added $220 a month. His income rose by $168. His automatic commitments rose by $220. The raise did not create margin. It covered most of the increase and left him $52 worse off. This is the part a normal bank balance hides. It shows money after it arrives, but before every claim on that money has finished collecting. For a few hours, the account looks healthier. Emotionally, it feels like progress. Economically, much of it is already spent. The obvious villain would be subscriptions. Cancel 2 streaming services, delete an app, and the problem disappears. Sometimes that helps. But it misses the larger mechanism. Autopay is not one category. It is a payment architecture. It contains essential bills, useful services, forgotten trials, annual renewals, insurance premiums, memberships, and small upgrades made months apart. The problem is not that every item is wasteful. The problem is that each one gets permission separately, while your paycheck has to carry them together. When Sleep Easy accepted a $3 cloud storage upgrade, he compared $3 with the inconvenience of deleting files. When his internet bill increased by $15, he compared $15 with the trouble of changing providers. When insurance rose by $34, he compared that increase with the risk of being uninsured. Each decision could be reasonable on its own, but the paycheck never experiences them one at a time. It experiences the total. That is the hidden mechanism, staggered commitment growth. Your income changes in visible events. You get a raise, change jobs, or receive a new contract. Automatic expenses change through dozens of smaller events scattered across the year. A renewal notice here. A price increase there, a free trial that becomes permanent, an annual charge that disappears from memory until it returns. Because the increases do not arrive together, they never feel large enough to trigger a full review. Yet they all compete for the same future paycheck. Autopay also removes the moment of payment. If Sleep Easy had to place $2,760 in cash on a counter every month, he would feel the total immediately. Instead, one charge leaves at midnight, another on the 5th, 3 more around the 10th, and an annual renewal lands on a random Tuesday. Convenience breaks one large cost into quiet withdrawals. That is useful. Late fees are real. Remembering 12 due dates is exhausting. Automatic payment is not the enemy, but convenience changes what the brain notices. We feel a purchase most clearly when we choose it and pay for it at the same moment. Autopay separates those events. The choice may have happened 18 months ago. The payment happens now. By then, the charge feels less like a decision and more like weather. This is why a responsible person can review every new purchase and still lose ground. The pressure is coming from decisions that no longer feel active. Now look at what happens to a raise inside that system. Most people measure a raise against last month's income. 4% more sounds like movement, but the better comparison is not new income versus old income. It is the growth rate of income versus the growth rate of recurring commitments. Sleep Easy's take-home pay grew 4%. His automatic bills grew from $2,540 to $2,760, an increase of about 8.7%. His commitments grew more than twice as fast as his income. The raise was real. So was the loss of room. This creates a strange emotional loop. Payday produces relief because the visible balance jumps. Automatic bills then pull it back toward the old level. Sleep Easy interprets the disappearance as personal failure. He tells himself he should have been more disciplined, even though the main change happened before he made a single discretionary purchase. Then he tries to compensate where payment is visible. He skips coffee, delays replacing worn shoes, feels guilty at the grocery store. Those choices may save something, but they also make ordinary life feel restricted while the larger automatic structure remains untouched. The system trains him to scrutinize the $10 decision he can see and ignore the $220 change spread across statements. There is a better number to watch. Call it your commitment gap. Take the monthly increase in reliable take-home income over the last 12 months. Then subtract the monthly increase in automatic commitments over the same period. For Sleep Easy, income increased by $168. Automatic commitments increased by $220. His commitment gap was negative $52. That number explains more than the raise percentage. It tells him whether new income is actually becoming new choice. A positive gap means at least some of the increase remains available. A zero gap means the raise was fully absorbed. A negative gap means recurring bills captured the raise and took additional room with them. You do not need a perfect budget to calculate it. You need two snapshots. Open one recent month of transactions and one from roughly a year ago. Mark every payment that repeats automatically, whether it is monthly, quarterly, or annual. Convert annual charges into a monthly amount by dividing by 12. Do the same for quarterly charges by dividing by 3. Then compare totals. Do not begin by judging every item. First, measure the change. The point is not to prove that you have been careless. It is to see the system at the scale your paycheck experiences it. Once Sleep Easy saw the total, he used a simple 3-pass reset. First, he protected the payments that kept life functioning: housing, insurance, utilities, phone service, and minimum debt obligations. These were not automatically bad because they were large. Second, he tested the negotiable payments. He checked competing insurance quotes, removed an internet speed tier he did not use, and changed a phone feature that had quietly become unnecessary. He did not ask, "Can I survive without this?" He asked, "Would I choose this exact version again today at this exact price?" Third, he gave every optional renewal an expiration date. Streaming, software, storage, and memberships no longer received permanent permission. A calendar reminder appeared 7 days before renewal. If he was using the service, it stayed. If not, the default became cancellation. The purpose was not to erase every comfort. It was to turn old decisions back into current decisions. He found $76 a month without touching groceries or inventing an extreme no-spending challenge. That did not solve every financial pressure. Rent was still higher. Insurance was still expensive. But his commitment gap moved from negative $52 to positive $24. For the first time, part of the raise remained his. More importantly, the account stopped surprising him. The automatic system was no longer invisible. He knew the amount attached to each paycheck before the paycheck arrived. That changes the meaning of the thumbnail. Already spent does not mean you have no agency. It means the decision point occurred earlier than you thought. The useful moment is not after the money disappears. It is when a recurring payment asks for another month of permission. So when your pay increases and life still feels tighter, do not immediately assume the raise was too small or that you somehow wasted it. Compare the two growth rates. Income on one side, automatic commitments on the other. Your salary can rise while your freedom falls. Both statements can be true, and the comparison is worth repeating whenever pay changes, not only when money feels urgent. A raise creates the cleanest opportunity to review the system because the new income has not yet been assigned. If you wait 6 months, the larger balance begins to feel normal and new commitments can quietly claim it. Before upgrading anything, write down the increase and decide how much should become savings, flexibility, or enjoyment. Then let recurring bills compete for what remains. This reverses the usual order. Instead of every service taking a small piece and leaving you the remainder, you choose the remainder first. The goal is not to fear autopay. It is to stop confusing convenience with invisibility. a payment can happen automatically without receiving automatic permission forever. Sleep Easy still uses Autopay, he just no longer lets it run without a scoreboard. What automatic bill has grown the most quietly for you? You do not need to share the amount. Just name the category. And if calm explanations of expensive everyday life help you see your money more clearly, subscribe to Sleep Easy Economics.